Why would they do that? Starship Flight 5 massively delayed by the FAA? Starship fails a crucial test? Or is SpaceX's science fiction rocket factory about to change the game? Welcome back to Starbase, where we can see SpaceX preparing their starships for a journey that could one day take humanity to Mars. But wait a second, Mars? That's at least a decade away, right? Not according to Elon Musk. He has some ambitious plans, but there's one massive problem that SpaceX might not even be able to control: the FAA. Let's break this down because it's an issue that affects everyone who's excited about the Starship program. First up, let's talk about the orbital launch site where these vehicles will eventually take off. SpaceX's Starbase has been dealing with heavy weather. Nothing catastrophic, but enough to slow down construction of Tower B. And while storms are just part of life down in Texas, what really hit SpaceX wasn't from the skies. It was from the FAA. SpaceX wanted to launch 5 Starships this year. So far, they've only launched 2. The hardware is ready, the launch vehicles have been prepped, and the teams are ready to go. So why aren't they launching? The FAA. Here's where it gets complicated. SpaceX had been gearing up for Flight 5, which was supposed to include a daring new attempt to catch the booster mid-flight. They've been working on this for months, but to make that happen, they needed a new launch license. SpaceX was expecting that license to be approved right after their wet dress rehearsal in early August. That didn't happen. Instead, the FAA said they'd need until mid-September to finalize the paperwork. Sounds frustrating, but what's a few extra weeks, right? More time for testing and fine-tuning the Starship. But then, things got worse. CNBC published an article accusing SpaceX of polluting the environment with their launch mount flame diverter system. The deluge system, which sprays water to suppress flames during launch, was suddenly under investigation. SpaceX fired back, stating that they've been operating under a multi-sector general permit since 2023 and have complied with all local and federal regulations. Still, this prompted the FAA to open an investigation, further delaying the launch. So, the big question is SpaceX actually doing anything wrong? Are they polluting the environment without permission? From what we can tell, it seems unlikely. SpaceX uses methane as fuel for Starship, which burns cleaner than traditional rocket fuels like kerosene. Methane combustion produces mostly carbon dioxide and water vapor. So if there are pollutants, they likely aren't coming from the fuel. But the FAA isn't satisfied, and now SpaceX has to wait even longer. Initially, they thought the license might come by the end of September. Now, rumors suggest it could be delayed again, this time until November. That would mean a 6-month gap between flights 4 and 5, which is nearly as long as the gap between the first 2 Starship flights. It's all incredibly frustrating for SpaceX, and they've been vocal about it. On September 10th, they published an update emphasizing that Starship is environmentally safe and blasting the FAA for yet another delay. According to this update, the next possible launch window might not happen until November. That would be an enormous setback, not just for Starship, but for Musk's broader plans to colonize Mars. Speaking of Mars, this delay gives us an opportunity to take a closer look at what's happening on the ground at Starbase. Let's start with Tower B, the second orbital tower. The recent storms have slowed down progress, but that might actually work to SpaceX's advantage. They now have time to make further upgrades, including reconfiguring the massive crane that's needed to install the tower's chopstick arms. These arms will eventually be used to catch the Starship booster after launch, a critical part of SpaceX's plan for rapid reusability. And here's a bizarre twist. Ship 31, the prototype slated for Flight 6, is already being prepped for testing. That's right. Flight 6 might be ready before Flight 5 even takes off. How crazy is that? Ship 31 went through its cryogenic testing phase on September 8th, but the test was quickly aborted. We don't know exactly why, but it's likely just one of those routine hiccups that come with developing cutting edge technology. Now, let's talk about the Star Factory. This is where SpaceX is building the Starships, and the factory has been growing rapidly since last year. By all accounts, the factory is nearing completion, with only a few final touches left, like installing the specialized equipment needed to build Starship nose cones. Once that's done, SpaceX will be able to ramp up production even faster. Which brings us to the big news. Elon Musk dropped a bombshell in a recent X post. He revealed that SpaceX is aiming to launch an uncrewed Starship to Mars within the next 2 years, by the next Mars transfer window in 2026. And that's not all. Musk also hinted that a crewed mission to Mars could happen as early as 2028. In just 4 years, we could see humans landing on Mars. This would be a monumental achievement, on par with the moon landing in 1969. But is it really possible? Musk has a habit of setting incredibly ambitious timelines, only for those goals to slip by months or even years. That said, SpaceX has been moving at an unprecedented pace. If any company can pull off a Mars mission within this decade, it's SpaceX. The real question is whether the FAA and other regulatory bodies will get out of the way. SpaceX wants to launch 25 Starships a year from Starbase, but so far they've only managed 2. If the regulatory hurdles continue, it could push back Musk's Mars timeline by years. But if SpaceX gets the green light, we could be watching the first human footsteps on the red planet by the end of this decade. What do you think? Is Elon Musk's timeline realistic? Will SpaceX make it to Mars in 2028, or are these delays a sign of bigger issues? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button, smash subscribe for more jaw-dropping space updates, and join us as we embark on a cosmic journey like never before.